We're apocalypse, drinking gin and tonics, lying in the flowers, counting down the hours. Welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast. I am not Harley Neville. If you look on the live stream, you'll see that I am in fact Edward Norton in the film American History X. With my...
I see. I mean, your head is a little more egg-shaped, but...
Now, what if I do this?
But, yeah, I see it. I sort of see it. Yeah. So you look like Edward Norton because you, for a specific role that you just acted in, a specific role you were acting in via Skype, you needed to look like Edward Norton from American History X.
Yes, I did. And then I also, and that production was, of course, your production.
Yes.
Stay at Home. Yep, which obviously you've been slaving over lately. And I had my wee cameo appearance in it. But because we were filming later than I had been told, I ended up recording with this goatee my introduction for a Show Me Shorts film festival video as well. So I'm rocking the goatee for them as well. But I'm actually quite enjoying it. I think I might just rock the goatee for a little bit longer now.
Well,
might take it back to 2000, you know?
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, in the year 2000, it was a great achievement to grow a goatee. It was. And you felt like a big man, that your facial hair had reached a point that it was noticeable to other people. And you were a rebel because you had some on your chin, but not everywhere else. You're dangerous. You're a badass because of this little bit of facial hair on your chin, which said that you're a rebel man. You don't conform to society's rules. You're a young, brash rebel fighting the man. And that's how we sort of indicated that we were cool dudes at the time. Looking back, looked pretty stupid. Well, I don't know if you remember, but...
Well, I feel like I'm really rocking more of a Homer Simpson than an Edward Norton, if I'm honest.
Well, he doesn't have a goatee, does he?
Of course he does. Homer Simpson.
Well, isn't that just unshavenness?
No, it's a goatee. He's definitely got a goatee. He doesn't have a beard. That's his goatee, and he does shave it sometimes, and then it grows back, but only kind of around the mouth and that. And then sometimes they do show him with a beard as well, I'm sure.
I always assumed that was a 5 o'clock shadow.
No, if I was going to dress as Homer, in fact, I did dress as Homer once. I wish I should have found the photos. I had a goatee just like this. I look just like him.
So, who was that? The lyricist that you?
So that was Enter Shikari.
Oh fuck! You can't do them two weeks in a row.
Well, they've got a new album out. They got a new album out. They're my favorite band. Now, hold this thought, because it would seem that we're not live on YouTube.
Okay, cool.
So, but I don't know why that would be. We are live on Twitch, but we're not live on YouTube.
Yes, we are.
So. You are?
Yeah.
We are? Ah. Good one, Tyler. Tyler said we're not. He's fired already. Oh, there we go. But I couldn't find it either.
Okay. I just saw it.
No. Here it is. Okay.
Crisis averted,
anyway,
guys.
Good. Crisis averted. Funny framing on me, though, but yep.
Well, it's getting a bit worse. Might have to try and fix that.
There we go.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so look, it's all part of the show. Good. Hi, everyone's on YouTube, everyone's on Twitch. Hi, everybody. Good, everybody's here. Now, where did we get to?
Well,
Homer's beard.
And Enter Shikari.
Yes, well, that's Modern Living from Enter Shikari. Great song, great band, brand new album out there. Go gobble it up, people.
Agent Alvin, he's watching on YouTube. Cool. Did we have any questions? Follow up from last podcast.
Literally none. The only thing I can remember in terms of only a little bit of feedback and stuff I've got was Jason P. Diddy Combs from Savannah said that he expected some more enlightened rants from me in the acid episode. He was, he said that. So I guess that's fair. I was halfway through by that stage. You see, the peak had passed by that point. Another wee bit of feedback was somebody was desperately wanting to know on the Lord of the Rings Calling of the Ring series if we were going to be making new episodes soon. To which I replied, I certainly hope so.
Never say never. Never say never. There's no reason we couldn't. Except for the 5 million other things that we're currently making, but it's always something to consider returning to. It was a long journey from the Shire to Mordor. Flipping that ring.
I would really love to continue that story though. We just have to be very careful to walk the whole homophobia joke line. We just have to be careful with that. There's a couple of straight dudes making a comedy about the unrequited love of gay Sam and his crush on Frodo, and Frodo's obliviousness to it. Yep. And also, we might have to cut back on the necrophilia rape. That might, just in this day, just being 37, I just feel like if we're making stuff with necrophilia rape in it, you can do it, but you got to walk the line.
Yeah, it's a different time now.
Might be the name of the episode, necrophilia rape.
Well, I would caution against that, but
good, okay.
Look, it could happen. We don't really know what's in store. But yeah, so how's everything been going on your end of the ditch? And when I say that, I mean you're about, I don't know, a kilometer away from me.
No, I mean, forget about me. I mean, you've just made a movie.
I have just made a movie.
What's the feeling like around the camp over there tonight? Is it a mood of victory, of celebration, or is it a mood of exhaustion and despair? Are you having a beer with much merriment, or are you having a beer to drown your sorrows?
Well, I've just finished my beer. If anyone wants to pass me another one, I'm just throwing out a little hint there
this guy lives like a fucking king.
The world. Look, I
had to bring 2 Rhinecks with me. I had to bring 2 Rhinecks with me to last the show.
I think it's a feeling of exhaustion, total and utter exhaustion, mixed with a sense of great accomplishment and achievement. That's where I'm standing on it. It was, it was an ordeal. It was very tricky. We were going straight back to the basics, the true fundamentals. Thank you, of filmmaking, which is
beer delivery, sir.
Which is essentially just a couple of people and some gear and trying to make the most out of that. For me, it was kind of like returning to the roots of Pigville, of just not really having anything. And when I say not having anything, having tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment, not having anything at all except those tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. Had all that, but apart from that, it was a total return to no budget filmmaking.
Right, yeah. It's more like no help.
No help, no crew filmmaking.
No help filmmaking.
And so it was cool. Like the challenge of that was really cool. It was wonderful to work with my girlfriend, who was a very helpful and supportive actress. Yeah, so
you've cast your girlfriend in your quarantine movie,
who's never acted before in her life.
And the 48-hour film festival was this weekend, and it was from Friday till Sunday. And you are shooting a movie in quarantine too, but you started on Monday.
And
you cast your girlfriend.
And the idea was from Monday till Thursday, so it was not quite the same time frame, but close. We ended up sort of going till today, and we just finished, in fact, just before we've started this podcast. But the idea was very similar, except I wasn't prescribed some dipshit set of regulations and rules. I just got to think of a cool story. instead of going, oh, it's got to be a musical. Hey, it's a musical now. Make it a musical. Oh, you've got to. Someone's got to pass someone a piece of cheese and say, "Oh, who cut the cheese?" Fortunately,
well, they never give you a whole line.
Yes,
like
they
that,
do.
You have to say, "Oh, yeah,
they do give you a
who
line."
Cut the cheese is a literal fart joke.
Well, I'm just saying they give you one line. It could be that. But so there were no restrictions except my own imagination and the limitations placed upon me in the environment that we're all in this bubble with these restrictions. So I really enjoyed it. It was very tricky, and it was kind of a bit of a rude awakening in the sense that it's like, oh yeah, I forgot what this was like. I forgot when we were slumming it with no one to help us, and it was just a couple of people, sort of chugging away, hoping for the best. Like I'd forgotten, normally it's like, I need a coffee. Well, can someone go get me that coffee, please? Feel a little bit sleepy. And then, now it's like, well, do you want to go get that coffee your fucking self? Because I'm in front of the camera. And so there was just, it was just, and also remembering like, with no crew, you're the one that has to move everything and do all those things. And so it was a little bit eye-opening, but it was also like super fun because it's like the whole idea is to make a film in the bubble with what you have and the resources that you have that looks like a film that you didn't make in the bubble with all those resources that you would normally have. And the idea is that when you watch this on YouTube or whatever, you can't tell the difference. You just thought I made a film. That's the dream. That's the ideal goal. I think that we all worked really hard and hustled, and I think we have come up with like something really good. But obviously, you never really know till you've put it all together exactly what you've got. But it was an experience, and it was pure madness. It was getting up in the morning, working, teaching my students. So getting up at 8 a.m., teaching my students, starting filming around 11 or 12, and then finishing about 1 or 2 a.m.
So why wouldn't you do it on the weekend? Like if you've got nowhere to be, if you're at home anyway for the whole week, why would you choose to shoot on days when you've also got to do your normal
Simple
work?
answer. My actress is not available on the weekend. She works on the weekend. So she's working on all those days. So, someone had to take a hit, and that person was me. So really that's the reason there was no other way. And again, that's another restriction, another limitation that you have to think about when you're making it. And it's like, can I teach for a few hours and have, but
Yeah, well, when we did my cameo, you had to rush away. It was like 3:47, and you had to be you had to do something at 4.
I had a meeting with the academic board at my school to discuss a lot of things that I didn't really understand that were sort of going over my head, and I was sort of just smiling and nodding, and then I slowly turned my microphone off, and then I slowly turned my camera off, and then I started talking to other people in the room, and then I took one ear off my earphones that I had in listening to the thing, and then I kind of just slunk away and disconnected at the hour 20 mark of the meeting as it was still ongoing. So that was me, but that was so some tight time pressures, but look, as far as things you can do in lockdown, for me, there's nothing better than I could do than to shoot a short film. Like if I'm saying that I do have additional time in lockdown, which is not really true, but if it was, and I'm trying to make the most of lockdown and turning a sort of a negative global pandemic into a creative, inspiring thing, then the only thing I could do is shoot a film at this time. And I would also say that regardless of how well the film comes out, it is a moment in time. And it is a very unique and special moment in time that I will always look back at this film and go, yeah, that was when the whole world had shut down. That was crazy when we did that thing where the whole world shut down and we made a little film while everything was shut down. So it's very cool.
And what about the post-production? How long is that going to take?
Well, that's really the issue. That's $1 million question, isn't it? The post-production as well is a problem because at the end of the day, that's where you can't, you know, where can you take shortcuts in film? Yeah, you can take shortcuts by having less crew and taking more responsibilities, especially if you have the gear and equipment yourself, which I do because that's what I do in my spare time or when I'm freelancing. But, you know, at a certain point, the shortcuts end, and there's no shortcut to the time it takes to edit something, and there's no shortcut to getting someone to...
Well, there is, though. It's money. The shortcut's money. Well, you just got to pay people proper industry rates to edit.
But there's no shortcut in the sense that they still need a certain amount of time to edit that thing.
Yeah, but if you're paying somebody a proper fee and you go, like, you know, like you can turn around a short film reasonably quickly, you know, a few weeks or something.
Yeah, for sure. If the money's there and that's all they're working on, 100%. But I guess you can't take, you know, the whole idea is to make a film in lockdown, so that extends further in the sense that, you know, there was no money for this film, so I don't think there's going to be money at the end of this film either.
No.
So yeah, who knows is the answer to that. I do have some real world jobs to get back to. I mean, I think that is the biggest.
It's just obviously with the story as well. It's better to get it out before everybody else kind of gets their one out. You know,
sure.
There is some.
Well, look,
people. I feel like it's hot at the moment. People aren't going to be looking up as much. Well, people will always be interested in
I think there's probably
internet archaeologists.
I think there's a 2-month window where it is the most relevant, and there's probably a 6-month window where people are still interested, and then after that, it's just a thing. That's my guess, but we don't know how long Corona is going to be around for. You know, now I've been in my bubble doing this film. But I've also been in my bubble doing absolutely nothing but this film. So I don't even know really what the fuck is going on, except that I do know that we're going to level 3 on Monday. So what does level 3 mean for us?
Well, nothing. I mean, it's. I'm pretty sure there's something to be said for it being level 4 with KFC from my perspective at least, because... Sure, like there's a few more options. Like I'm about to go and get a takeaway coffee. Hopefully, I don't know, but maybe I can get a takeaway coffee somewhere. But overall, from my perspective, I'm still not going to have any work, and I'm still not going to have any non-essential reason to be leaving the house. Basically, you know, like it's not really going to change much for me, except for I could go get drive-through KFC. Do they allow drive-through KFC, or is it just delivery KFC? Might be just delivery KFC. I don't know.
Well, what?
Yeah, I don't know.
What is the difference between?
I guess we should have done some research.
So you're telling me you haven't done any research?
Not on the levels of the coronavirus, no. Of the level of the restrictions, not on the thing that is governing my life in its entirety. Right. No, I haven't really looked at it. No, I don't know specifically what the level 3 like restrictions are, but basically I was like, well, it doesn't really affect me because it doesn't give me any extra freedoms as far as I could see. Like, isn't it basically the same thing except for more businesses are allowed to open that are still fit within a certain type of industry?
Yeah, but
there are certain businesses that can open up
but
again.
Couldn't that be your freelance businesses, like, you know, some of the places that you work for?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't think so, though. I'm pretty sure that it's everything. It's still essential stuff.
Trade Me is the good news is Trade Me is going to be opening up again. I think that's. I think so, and also I'm really hoping that it means that we can actually start posting things again. Because we do have a feature film that we need to post.
We do.
To our sales agent.
I'm waiting for some RAM.
and you're waiting for some RAM to come through. Although that, in theory, if you've ordered it, should come through either way.
The tracking seems to be saying it's stuck in the States somewhere.
Shit. Yeah, that's a problem. The States is in trouble. Yeah. Well, so we're going to level 3. Level 3 means you can open it. I really wish you'd looked this up, Harley.
Yeah, I didn't know you were going to bring it up.
Well, what else would I talk about?
I don't know anything about.
What else would I talk about?
I don't know. I didn't really think about it.
See,
all I was going to say was like that we're in level 3 now, guys. It's cool.
See, the thing is, before I started filming, I was checking the news feed about COVID probably 5 times a day and reading all the updates about the world and about everything. And you mean to tell me you haven't looked at shit?
People must work from home unless that's not possible.
Okay.
So I was like, well, I don't think there's anybody out there that needs me enough.
You're not essential, Harley.
I always knew that being absolutely useless to civilization would pay off one day. Completely superfluous.
Yes. Well, do we have any data on how many new cases today? How many new cases?
No, I don't know.
What?
Why are you asking me? Like I would
get
know all
an
this
update.
Shit. Ask Dr. Who's his tats?
Dr. Monroe. That's you.
Dr. Ashley Pittman. Or Ashley, Dr. Ashley Cooper. Or,
yeah.
I don't know. Why are you coming to me for your news?
Well, surely I just thought you'd like to maybe keep current with the state of the fucking country.
I watch the things every day. At 1 p.m, but I don't like pay attention to. I'm not like, oh, and 2 died today and put it in my wee death diary.
Well,
how many died today in New Zealand? Let me have a
I'm
look.
not saying how many died, or how many infections.
I don't know. There was like less than. They're going down every day. It was less than 10, like last time I looked, type thing. You know.
Okay, well, good. Thank you. I mean, it's good for the internet archaeologist to witness your ignorance and all things that is affecting us.
Not that you know anything.
I only don't know anything for the time that I've been filming. I was like 100% up to date before that.
All right. So you thought that I would be like, I would know the numbers.
You got fucking nothing else to do.
Do all your research. That's bullshit.
What?
I'm busy, man.
What?
I'm busy. I've got filming, editing, and uploading the short film nights and running all the events, like the stuff associated with it, like the selling of tickets and answering of emails and all those types of things. I am employed.
It's a solid 2 hours per day.
Got my daily exercise routine. It all adds up. It all adds up. I have very busy days.
We've accounted for 2 hours and 45 minutes of your day. So
I'm reading the Unabomber Manifesto.
The manifesto's really been taken up too.
31,000 words.
The manifesto has really been taken up too much. It's eaten into your COVID research time, clearly. But yeah. Well, my update is that I heard from the sort of the academic meeting that I was in, and they were like, basically like, so the whole of next term, so we're about to go into a 2-week break after next week. So 3 weeks from now is the following term for our school. And they were like, so that whole term 3, if we're at lockdown 3 and maybe 2, I wouldn't expect to be going in. And I was like, really? So we're not going in for the next 2 months or slightly longer to work? And they're like, because we can, like, they would argue that we can do it from home. So suck a dick and stay at home is basically the advice that has been given to us. Which is quite difficult, but hey, I guess that's where we're at.
Well, good. So that's I mean, look, I'm pretty flat and pretty lost, really. Day 29 of this lockdown. like so overall it's pretty good. I feel better than I did feel. Like a couple of weeks ago, I was like, man, this is all good. Like there's a lot going on, lot to process. I feel a lot better about it now, and feel overall I feel pretty positive about the future mostly. But still, the idea of, because what happens once we get down to level 3. So we go down to level 3 on Tuesday, and then we've got 2 weeks of level 3.
Yeah.
Which in my mind is basically diet level 4, right?
Yeah.
And so
Oh.
calling me up for work or anything like that. No, nothing's going to change. I'm just going to be in my house. So I know for a fact that I've got 3 more weeks for sure in front of me. Like, so a bunch of people are probably like, yeah, cool. I'm getting out on the 28th. 28th. But of course, that's not true for most of us.
Yes, it's sorry, we're just having a few technical issues.
My camera disappeared, which distracted me.
It'll be back. It is, I guess, it's coming back. Don't worry about that.
I'm in the corner.
You're fine. So yeah, look, I don't know what's going to happen. With you're in the corner.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna try and fix it.
That's fine. See, these are the little bits that I cut out of the actual podcast, because I'm like, those guys don't want to have to listen to us talking to the live stream people about shit that only.
Cool. Oh, it's not wanting to do it. Okay.
So now this is actually a good chance for me to talk about Tyler, the website creator. Now, Tyler, the website creator, never actually finished making the website that he was going to make for me. But he's an enthusiastic filmmaker in Auckland, and he's got a museum for props, which some of the I Survived a Zombie Holocaust props have gone to. He's a good man, and he is an enthusiastic, he loves films and filmmaking and everything about films and TV. It's a real passion of his, and I can see that, and I admire it. And so Tyler, the website creator, I'm trying to see if I can get him trained up to be Tyler, the technical producer. And he will run the OBS program, which you're currently having issues with, and he will run all of that technical stuff, and he's doing that from home, and we're sitting here and we don't have to worry about any of that. We can just concentrate on our notes. He does all the social media, like, hey guys, we're live now, and all that type of thing, and posting about like stuff we're talking about. So and also allowing us to do things like, if we talk about the trailer to I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, we can then cut to the trailer of I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. Or if we're talking about not wanking, Tyler can cut to not wanking.
Brilliant.
That type of thing. Brilliant. So I think getting in a third person as a technical producer would be a great way to up the production values of the show. So he's watching at the moment, learning how the show works, and he can probably see some areas for improvement as my face goes literally full screen on the live stream randomly right now. So this is a malfunction of OBS.
Yes.
That it does this, and it jumps around a little.
Yeah, so we've lost my visual here.
Yeah. So it is causing some technical issues. Great. Lots of editing for me.
Here we go. I'm fixing it. All right.
Okay. Yep. I just want to know. Yeah. Okay.
So back.
All of the technical difficulties so far have been within the first 30 minutes. So that's good. I can remember that for my edit notes. All right.
So what else has been going on with you, mate?
Well, as mentioned, I am reading the Unabomber Manifesto after having stumbled upon the Unabomber in his own words on Netflix. And seeing as we're just talking about movies for a second and Netflix, I also just wanted to drop in that I did watch a couple of movies as well. I watched Django Unchained and Downfall. I rewatched Downfall. Now, you remember which one is Downfall? It's the one.
Yeah. For those who don't know Downfall, but you should know if you know anything about Harley and his raging erection for Hitler, you would know that if Hitler approached him on the street, if he ever saw Hitler in real life, he would come all over him. And we all know this about Harley. We all know his love for World War II and specifically Hitler, and his delight and joy in all things Hitler. And,
so ridiculous.
And
you've gone way too many steps too far.
And anyway,
I am a World War II enthusiast.
And so anyway,
absolutely. And of course, Hitler is an interesting
integral
part.
He's an
integral part of World War II, is he not?
Yeah.
And so he's obviously an interesting character in all of it.
Yeah.
But to say that I would ejaculate on Hitler,
if you saw him on the street,
might create the image that I admire him a little too much, which I don't.
Yeah, but
I don't admire.
There's a fondness for Hitler that you have, and acquiring for information, acquiring information about Hitler.
But I am very interested in everything that happened in World War II.
So anyway, if you know anything about Ali, you know about his love for World War II and Hitler. And Downfall is all about Hitler's last days in the bunker, right? Is he in the bunker?
He's in the bunker.
And basically, it's a great film. I've also watched it myself. It's a great film where essentially it's like all his commanders are coming to him being like, hey, this has gone down. This is fucked. This isn't working. What are we going to do? And he's flipping his wig, famously flipping his wig in a meme. So essentially there's this video that's on YouTube in various iterations, and it's Hitler, but they've changed the subtitles. So the real subtitles are something along the lines of, you've just seen it, Harley. What are the real subtitles? What does he really say? Like, what are they really talking about?
Well, in reality, he's very upset because he's holding out in Berlin, hoping for he's got two armies nearby, and he's commanded them both to attack and kind of meet up in the middle. And I think one of them could be surrounded or something like that. And so he's commanded these two separate armies to attack and then relieve Berlin from the Soviet siege type thing. And they were supposed to meet up, and basically, but they only existed on paper. They weren't really very real. And so the report came back saying that we couldn't advance, we couldn't do it. And then Hitler loses his shit and says that everybody's a traitor and that they all deserve everything they get. The German people deserve everything they get. That he's not going to stop the war and all of this type of stuff. Because if they lost, that means they never deserved to live to win anyway, sort of thing, and that that type of thing. So that's the gist of it. And
essentially that moment in the film has been taken out, and then they have replaced the subtitles of that conversation with subtitles about anything, which is, so then it's like Hitler losing his shit about a new movie, or Hitler losing his shit about a PlayStation 4 update, or Hitler losing his shit. And so
they've probably seen.
Well, we've talked about it on the podcast before.
Yeah.
And so if you ever see Hitler losing his shit, and I always remember the most memorable part of it to me is when he takes his glasses off and he's trembling with rage as he takes the glasses off because he's so pissed off. Anyway, you've all seen.
That's actually I'm gonna break your heart here, guy.
What?
That's not his trembling with rage. That's his Parkinson's, or he had a shake.
I forgot that you're addicted to Hitler and you love him so much that you know every fucking detail about his life, and he had a shake. I thought he was trembling with rage.
He's a well-known historic figure, you troglodyte. It's not my fault you're not reading about history. I also know a lot about the Mongols. Do you want to know who killed more people than Hitler? Genghis Khan, that's who.
I thought it was Genghis Khan.
Nah, I'm pretty sure in hardcore history he says Genghis.
Right.
So I say it that way too now, because if Dan Carlin says it that way, then it's probably the best way. Because I always thought it was Genghis Khan as well, but he says Genghis, and he was there.
So anyway, Oh yeah, so you fucking watched that film about Hitler that you'd already seen.
2 hours 45, 2 hours 45 or something ridiculous like that.
Yep.
And so I had to watch it in a couple of sittings, and then same with Django Unchained. Now, I'd never seen that before. Despite it being on my computer for like 5 years, I'd never seen it, and then it was on Netflix, so I finally got around to watching it. And that was pretty damn good. It's a good movie. It's a good, solid Quentin Tarantino entry.
Great film. Great film.
Great. And lots of, I really liked all the boundaries it's pushing with kind of like showing showing slavery, how it kind of, might have been, like how kind of cruel and horrible as it would have actually been. The day-to-day, running of it, like you're walking around, you're just a normal person in that time living on one of those, living or working on one of those plantations, and there's people like in little boxes, and you're like, yeah, that's normal. That's cool. That's fine. It doesn't matter. They're slaves, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think obviously that film is great entertainment, but it does also provide a important historical context for us, like sort of living in this time, to look back, because again, I had never seen a film where I guess that section of history was documented in such a casual way, as in, they treat these people as less than human all the time. And there's so many layers to that, and how bad that is on so many levels. But, you don't actually see that very often in films, and you certainly don't see that very often in what you would call popular films.
It came out in 2012, I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure that's what it said on Netflix. And I was like, I mean, 8 years. It took me 8 years to get there. So there's an 8-year lag for me.
Yeah. So you're 8 years behind watching good fucking films. But...
And if it gets more than 8 years, I just don't ever get around to watching it.
Yeah, I will say I can't remember if Inglourious Basterds was before or after that. I have a feeling it was after that, but I could be wrong.
It was after that, sure. That is obviously got a World War II connection, so I've got a lot closer.
Yeah, so you were all over that. You were coming all over that as soon as it was released.
Well, Tarantino.
As soon as it was released.
Tarantino killing Nazis.
You released.
That sounds awesome to me. Tarantino killing Nazis. Sounds great.
Yeah, so those to me are Tarantino's last really good films, those two. Django Unchained and Inglourious Basterds. And then he's had a middling run with Not Quite Hollywood, or whatever the fuck it's called, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and The Hateful Eight, which I did enjoy, but
I liked The Hateful Eight.
It was perhaps a little verbose, too much talking.
Oh yeah. No, I remember that was a slow burn, but when it finally got there, I was like, nah, cool, liked it, feeling it.
Definitely worth a watch.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, in this Unabomber Manifesto, anyway.
Back to the fucking manifesto.
The Unabomber Manifesto, right? He brought up an interesting concept to me that I hadn't really kind of conceived before, which was that he was talking about the future and technology, and in particular biomedical sort of technology of the nearish future. And he says that inevitably genetic engineering will be used extensively, but only in ways consistent with the needs of the industrial technological system. So only in ways consistent with the needs of the industrial technological system. So what he's saying there, this is an interesting concept to me, was that as we take charge of our genes through genetic engineering, we will inevitably modify ourselves to have advantages in the world that we live in, right? And that makes sense. So but the thing is that the world that we live in is nothing like the natural world that we evolved in. So we've created this big colony like ants, and we're living in this system where all our needs and water and food and shelter and all that stuff are met every day. So of course, when you're selecting which genes to bless your progeny with, you're going to choose useful things, right? Useful for the real world. So you're going to choose like intelligence and dedication and beautiful genitalia and drive and ambition and other instincts and stuff like that are going to give your offspring the best chance of succeeding in the world that it inhabits. But the world that it inhabits is a world within this system that we have created. So we will be genetically modifying ourselves to excel within the system that we've built. which would have the effect of blending ourselves into the system that we've created, making it stronger and making us as a species more reliant on it and sort of potentially kind of helpless without it. So I thought that was kind of an interesting idea.
What constitutes beautiful genitalia, Harley?
Well, it depends what you're into. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
So if you gave someone a banana wang,
but maybe a
where do you sit on that?
Probably endow if you're a kind and benevolent sire, then you might endow your offspring with, like, say, the optimum level of attractive penis size. Like you go, what is the optimum penis size and design? Now let's genetically modify our kid so that he has the best penis possible. And then likewise, you can do the reverse, obviously, with the vagina.
Let's
and
let's do some research on this and give this kid the best dick possible.
Well, you wouldn't even have to do the research. It would just come as part of a package. You go, okay.
Someone would have
Mr.
to.
Pigden, so should I? So I'll give you the package, the big package, Mr. Pigden.
The perfect
and you'll
package.
Say, yes. Yes, I'll take the perfect package, please. And then you will then that will just come all in there. His sperm will be super fertile. His penis will be the perfect size. All of those things. It'll be perfectly straight, or whatever the stats say is the best shape.
The balls will be round and full.
Exactly. But look. Why is this an issue that we might merge
why
with
is
the
this
system
fucking manifesto important? Yes.
Why would it be an issue that we merge with the system? What's the problem, I hear you say? Now, so here's the thing.
That wasn't my question, but go ahead.
If you picture your local Chad, your local muscular jock who, has a huge dick, isn't that what we all aspire to be? And we would be designing our children to look like that. And you might say that if you took that human out, that jock Chad human out, and you took him into the wild and you released him into the wilderness just naked and just left him out there, that he might have an advantage over another person with a different shaped body who had also been dumped out there with no training. But you might say, well, that person, he's obviously he's a jock, he's a big physical, healthy type, with his big penis and all that type of thing. And so anyway, here's the thing. It depends on what type of wilderness you dump him into. So if he got dumped into like dense jungle, where being small enough to fit through small gaps is a matter of life and death, like on the daily, then suddenly here's poor old Chad with his swinging dong, caught on some stinging nettle, the whole thing, he's covered in grass cuts, he can't get between a gap, and two wolves are eating him alive from the ass up over the course of 24 hours. Meanwhile, here's me. I'm dropped into the same place, but with my swiftly efficient and compact penis, I scuttle unharried through gaps in the undergrowth.
You fit under tiny little tree trunks openings.
Exactly. So from a genetic perspective, I will excel and he will not. From an evolutionary perspective, my genes are superior, and I will stand there unharried even by the mosquitoes who can't penetrate my thick coat of body hair, as poor old Chad gets his perfectly shaved nutsack milked by a million mosquitoes.
Horrible way to die. Horrible way to go.
It's a horrible way to go. And that's what would happen to these Chads, these purebred Chads.
I love how this whole fucking hypothesis is based around you actually being a better physical specimen, evolutionarily speaking, than all the big jocks that you've hated all of your life. I love how that somehow you've turned it.
It all came back to that. It all came back to that.
All thanks to the Unabomber Manifesto.
All thanks to the Unabomber's Manifesto. It is a very interesting read. It is. It honestly is. I mean, to be honest, I haven't finished it yet. I'm only like a quarter of the way through it, probably. I'm a very slow reader. But anyway, so just I thought that was quite interesting, this idea that we could, in the near future, start genetically modifying ourselves to fit into this world that we've created, which is not the world which is outside.
Gattaca. Believe that covered that that idea.
Yeah. Yeah, although in that case, being a clone or being genetically enhanced was really good all the time, as far as I can see.
Because you got to date Uma Thurman. Yeah, boy. Was she in that? I feel like she was.
I don't know.
Might not be true. I'm not sure. Right. You get to date Jude Law. Yeah, boy. He was definitely in it. He was the
I'd have him.
He was the
in a scrap.
I'd have him. Jude Law.
That quote makes sense, right? Because he is in that movie with the guy that's
Closer. Yeah. So yeah, cool. Okay. What else? What else be going on? I just be making a film. That's it.
Right. Well, the good news about all this COVID stuff is that, and with the live stream working so well with us doing it via Skype, we'll never have to see each other again.
It's true.
Well, even after lockdown comes up, we'll just go, hey, should we do a podcast? Oh, I'm real fucking flat out. Oh, we'll just do it. We'll just bust a quick Skypey.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean,
because otherwise it's like, hey, can you come around here and like scooch into the corner beside me? And it's kind of uncomfortable and all that. But it would be different if we had some sort of studio that was kind of a comfortable spot that was actually where you could sit on your own side and have your own camera and kind of, and sit where you want to sit and stuff.
Yeah, well, we do actually, we do have a place like that. It's called My Fucking House. You just have to come over here. My desk is three times the size of yours.
But, I just don't want to, I don't want to drink drive, but,
But sacrifices might have to be made, like catching a...
I'll sacrifice the pedestrians.
Yeah, well, I was more thinking get an Uber, but whatever. However you want to work it, mate. I'm not gonna judge.
Yeah, I re-listened to an old episode of the Guy and Harley podcast in my research, and I re-listened to episode 60, Sweet Side Boob. Which is about Fuller House, and
that classic
I
Netflix.
retell the series, and I retell the hilarious story of the time I got rejected from McDonald's for a job. And that was at that time, Not Wanking had just come out, and we mentioned that it took us 6 months to get it out, and that it had about 2,000 views and 100 likes, and now it's got like 60 or 70,000 views, and I don't know how many likes, but.
So
that's not bad. But that was episode 60. Say, that was 100 episodes.
How many years ago was that?
Basically.
3?
I don't know. 4, 3, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Billionaires, because of all this COVID stuff, Billionaires are moving to their bolt holes in New Zealand. Because New Zealand's this place that's considered like safe and clean and green and all that stuff, and isolated. And so there are Silicon Valley billionaires that have been buying bolt holes here, but they have been for quite a while anyway, and these are just bunkers out in the middle of nowhere that they go and live in next to small towns in New Zealand. And they're underground, and they're like the size of, like, I don't know exactly, they're not like a football field big, but they're like pretty big, and they've got like shooting ranges and a surgery and all the different things you need to live in there for however long, and they're buried like 11 feet underground, sort of thing. Okay. And they're here in New Zealand.
So they're not like holiday homes.
No. This is an underground bunker for surviving the apocalypse in New Zealand, which they can go and live in. And so some American billionaires have been installing these things, and we know they have because I don't know, something to do with like immigration and journalism and all that type of thing, so people can figure it out. And so there's also contractors that install them, that confirm that it's a real business. You can contact them and get them to install you one if you want. And so anyway, they've been doing that, right? And some of them came over just before the COVID lockdown. So there was some that came over and did an interview or something like that. So we know they came over. And then there was also, it said in the story that I read, a slight increase in personal jets arriving after the private jets arriving after the COVID lockdown type thing. There was an increase for some reason in private jets after the COVID lockdown. So it's reasonable to speculate that there's actually quite a few American billionaires, Silicon Valley billionaires and others like that, in New Zealand right now, living next to really small towns in the middle of nowhere, in places that you can only kind of find, but they're not on the map. They're like on GPS type thing. And so I think that's potentially pretty fucking awesome. We can become, if they're stuck here for quite a while, and if it's safe here, and if they like it here, and there's no COVID and all the rest of it, and they choose to stay here, and there's a billionaire next to like a town somewhere, surely that's going to be good for like the local industry in some way. If they're forced to kind of live here, and they're going to start working here, it's like bam, Silicon Island. That's what they'll call us.
Well, I mean, I guess that does raise a good point, which is this question, right? What happens at the end of the coronavirus? And we did sort of talk a little bit about this in our other podcasts, in the sense that there may be no end or no near end in sight. And what does that mean? Now we've run the gauntlet of the different emotions and possibilities for our country in this time of lockdown, of what might happen. Is it spread? Is it what's community spread of the virus? Are there pockets that we don't know about? Blah 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 blah. And it seems, and perhaps it's still too early to know for sure, but it seems that all of the cases have been relatively well tracked, and we seem to be aware of the cases. There's not like secret pockets of COVID everywhere, and they've introduced random testing and stuff for people who feel sick, specifically to go, okay, well, we haven't looked at this subset of people, so maybe you guys do have it. And so far, at least when I checked the news 4 days ago before I started making my film, that was like, no, we've had 0 cases of that, which means that New Zealand is one of the few countries where, we talk about like sort of erasing COVID, like we talk about or speculate about the possibility of like there won't be COVID here, or there will be COVID in these pockets of,
and a very manageable. It would be a very like manageable way.
Exactly, that we always on track. It's like, yes, 10 people currently have COVID. We know about it, and all the other people near them, we've made sure have shut it down, sort of thing. And therefore, New Zealand. But how do we sort of maintain that? And one of them is sort of closing the borders, or having very strict border restrictions. But does that mean that New Zealand will soon be a utopia? Almost COVID-free utopia?
I reckon it might be, mate. That's what I reckon. And they're talking about widening the footpaths for more pedestrians and so on, so we can space ourselves, we can socially distance when we're going places. And this has the potential, if this takes off, if people start cycling to work more because it's so much easier and the roads are skinnier and the footpaths are wider, and if all those types of movements sort of take off, and we set up some great new habits here, and some bad businesses disappear and some good ones excel out of this, it's going to be so good. But one thing that worries me is like there's already all these fucking mouth breathers on the internet, all excited, all getting woodies about KFC coming next week, and they're all excited, and those fucking morons are going to be lining up around the block or getting it delivered, like there's going to be flat out all day for KFC on that day, and it's like, come on, you've just taken 4 weeks off. You don't need to have it, and surely at some point you've got to realize that product is created by torturing and murdering chickens in like a mass scale. And when you have like a box of chicken, you have like 4 wings in there. That's 4 different chickens. The chances are it's not coming from 2 separate chickens. Whenever you buy chicken, you're eating multiple chickens, and it's like, this could be the chance. Let's go forward by using your dollar to buy things that are not fucking KFC, and let that shit die out. Buy at least local, because then at least it's not this mass industrial death cycle that you're investing in when you're doing with big things like KFC.
Well, isn't it? See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am going to eat KFC
Yeah, look,
at some point.
yeah, of course you're going to eat it.
I'm not even vegetarian. I'm just saying I'm not going to rush out to support them
Yeah,
on day one. The first thing people fucking do, they get out of lockdown. The first thing they do, they could go visit their loved one. No, they can't visit their loved ones, but you know what I mean? Like there's certain things you can do. What are they going to do? They're going to rush to go see fucking KFC.
Yeah, of course you're not going to go the first day. You know,
how good
maybe
has this
within
been,
the first week.
For the blood pressure of the whole country. The blood pressure of the whole country must be lower now.
Well, it really depends. No, because of the rampant alcoholism that is escalating as we speak.
Alcoholism might offset some of it.
Yes. So I'm not sure if I think you replace your vices with other vices, and so I'm not sure that I could go for another beer if Isaac can hear me over there. I'm not sure. Just my friend, imaginary friend Isaac.
Imaginary friend Isaac.
But look, I'm not going to KFC either. Not the first day. Maybe in the third or fourth day for sure, but definitely not the first day. I'm not desperate. To be honest, for me, it's Hell's Pizza. Hell's Pizza's coming back, man.
Well, that's good. They're an ethical
Let's be
company.
positive.
Support Hell's Pizza. They're a good ethical local company. That's a great alternative to KFC. They're a New Zealand-owned ethical company that is free range everything. All their meat, all their eggs are all free range. And plus, if you have the corn chicken, which is like this fake meat, it's actually fucking yum. I order it sometimes, and I'm not a vegetarian. I'm just like, man, I just really like that.
Yeah, look, it's impacted everyone, and
Hell Pizza, homies.
There's been also obviously must be a huge reduction in consumerism. I just haven't really noticed me spending less money.
I have. I've definitely been spending less. No petrol, for example, which is great.
Yeah, well, I will say for me, it's trade me coming back on the wheeling and dealing of secondhand goods. That's it for me. That's what I love. I love a good bargain. I can't resist a good bargain on Trade Me. And the thrill of the bids. The bids are going up, and you're like, am I going to get a good deal? Is it going to become a bad deal? Or will I just pip everyone out to the post?
Well, this is what you're doing. That's what I'm trying to do with the stocks. That's what I'm doing with the stocks at the moment. I actually joined in a different one recently called Stake. Stake is a company that allows you to trade in American stocks, like so you can buy Tesla and and Facebook and all the brands that you actually want to buy easily, but from New Zealand. And they've just launched in New Zealand, but they're only available for like people with the founder code. And I have the founder code. So if anybody wants to get in on that shit, go to facebook.com/GuyAndHarley and slide into my DMs. I'll give you the founder code. But anyway, I'm trying to find a similar deal, that idea of the wheeling and dealing and trying to find the best buy, and then offloading it, eventually to try and get that cheddar.
There's never been a better time to buy stocks than right now.
Well, that's kind of what I think, except for there's going to be a whole bunch more other dips coming, I'm sure. So you've still got to buy the
true
right
economic
things.
Recession.
Yeah, like at the moment, this is just kind of the shock.
Yeah.
I think this is a bit of a shock wave, and there's some rebound, and maybe like the world's biggest dead cat bounce, because it kind of went down and then a lot of stuff has just gone all the way back up again, to like not quite pre-COVID levels, but levels of like, 6 months ago or whatever, so not actually that bad. And so who knows what's going to happen. And then I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be a whole bunch more hits coming, just as random ramifications happen from all of this, like petrol going, oil going down to the point where there's literally so much oil that they need to pay people to take it off them because it's costing them money to keep it in their warehouses.
Well, yeah, it's interesting times for sure. Yes.
I want to get some Tesla stock. I'm keeping an eye on Tesla stock, and it's cheaper now than it was before the drop, but it's rebounded heaps since the drop. So I don't know if I'm trying to buy it now on top of like a dead cat bounce, which is it popping back up and then dropping again.
Why is it called a dead cat bounce?
Because imagine a cat. So you're way up high, and then you're going along, and then the cat falls all the way down, hits the ground, bounces up once, and then lands again. And then it's dead. So it's a dead cat bounce. And so for some reason that happens. There's a reaction where like something happens in the market, and then a bunch of people go, "It's a great time to buy," and then they put on their money, and then that causes an artificial bounce which is reflected in the stock, and it bounces up, temporarily, and people might go, "It's bouncing back, get on, get more on," and you buy then, and then it goes and keeps going down to what it really is, back down to what it really is, type thing. So yeah,
clean energy,
that type of stuff.
Clean energy.
Yeah. That's what I'm investing in. Clean energy. So if anybody wants that, it's called Stake. Go and have a look at Stake, Stake. And they've just launched in New Zealand. You can buy Tesla stock and be as cool as me, but only if you have the founder code, and you will get free stock, and so will I when you sign up. Now, what about this guy? I've got a question for you. Let's picture a post-COVID world where after this 4 weeks in, we've really advanced our technology, our stay at home, our ability to work at home has been massively improved. A lot of unnecessary things perhaps have been cut, and all that type of thing. And suddenly there's less jobs in, say, Auckland and the other big centres and so on. And you start to realise, well, hang on a minute. The only reason I'm in Auckland is because of the work. The work is what brings me to Auckland. It's what brings us all to Auckland. And that's why it's so expensive to get a house here, because, everybody wants to live here because it's where the work is. But the thing is that if that work dries up in, say, my industry or your industry, what happens then? Then you're just living in an expensive city that you're not from, and there's not really that much work, and a lot of the work you're getting is actually work from home work anyway, broadcasting on Skype or something, whatever we do, you know what I mean? Whatever you figure out is stuff that you're actually working from home anyway. So if you're working from home and there's no that many jobs in Auckland, well, it might be time to move back to Dunedin or some other more affordable place.
Well, I mean, I guess that's the question, right? Is this going to be a dead cat bounce, Harley? Are we going to get a dead cat bounce coming up in terms of how the economy and the Auckland workspace rebounds? I think that's what us economists must question with the dead cat bounce. So look, I'd
throw it around.
I have no idea, how things will play out here. I just think that there is a real interesting question about, what does the film industry do? What's the new rules? How many crew are on this? How many jobs become one job? How many jobs become jobs from home? How is all of that recalibrated, or is any of it recalibrated? Is it really no, you just go for a medical test every day or something? They take your temperature and then they send you home. Who knows? It's so strange because obviously we're dealing with something that has never happened before. So how do you combat something that has never happened before? And I think, it's the same in the education sector as well. They're talking about an influx of students after this because people will be wanting to get educations and stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe, or maybe not. But yeah, it's a real conundrum. Also, if you could work from home, right, in whatever you were doing, because now all the systems are set up to work from home, would you still choose to live in Auckland, or would you choose to live somewhere else?
Well, that's exactly what I'm asking.
Well, for me, I don't like I like the fact that my family is in, for example, Dunedin. I like the fact that my family is in Dunedin. There's some beautiful spots. The quietness of Dunedin is cool. But the fucking students, man. The fucking students wind me up.
They're not. They're not even around that much unless you're hanging around North Dunedin
so
much. Unless you're hanging around the student.
Yeah, or they're throwing buckets of vomit.
Those young people having fun. You just get upset about the headlines.
No, to be honest, there were certain times at night when I'd be walking with my girlfriend. Yeah, boy. My girlfriend 7 times removed or something like that. Where, and it's a group of rowdy students come past and it's all right, what's the shit? What's the shit going to be? What are these guys gonna say? Is someone gonna throw a drink? Is someone gonna do something inappropriate? Is it just gonna be fine? There's just so many ways it can go, but most of the time it's not going to go the good way where they kind of respectfully just walk past it. Hello, hey, how's it going? Or anything like that, or nothing. It's going to be something, some kind of rude and
you're talking about
abhorrent behavior.
A drunk Friday and Saturday
Sure,
nights
absolutely.
here, as opposed to like walking down the street and getting accosted by these gangs of lewd students.
Unless it's any time that it's orientation or some type of day drinking thing. Some sort of special day drinking. So well, look, the students. I think that my issue is that the students are in a law unto themselves, because Dunedin needs the students, so the students can get away with a lot because we need them, and we need to maintain that. Hey, come down and be a student, have an awesome time, and have a party, and live with reckless abandon while you study. That's us. That's Dunedin, and I think that's my issue, because I'm an old man now, and yes, I am absolutely.
Yeah, I think it might be that.
But I've had this thought since the last time I lived in New Zealand when I was a young man. I was well over it. When I last lived in Dunedin, I was well over all of that stuff. It was cool when I was 22, but past my mid-20s, I was sort of. You can take it away if you want. I was sort of totally over it. So that for me is also, Dunedin is like, I don't know what you remember about the film industry in Dunedin, but it don't exist.
I had a time of my life in the film industry in Dunedin. It was awesome. My biggest role was actually in Dunedin. Great scene. Look, my goal is to have a nice life and enable the creation of art and create art myself. And I don't really want to work the 9 to 5, and I don't really want to sit in traffic, and I don't really want to take on too much financial worry. And I do like money, but I prefer all of this stuff. I just kind of want to have a nice life, and I want to leave the world slightly better off for my existence. And this is all stuff that I can do from really anywhere, mostly. Obviously, there still needs to be some scene, some sort of filmmaking scene, but I also assume that I wouldn't be the only person making the exodus if there was less film work in Auckland. You know what I mean? Like, the whole country might get kind of a bit more spread out, and instead of us being all stuffed in one place and paying $1 million for a house, we're all a bit more spread out, working from home, and you can live wherever you want, and you can live in a much more affordable place.
Well,
it sounds kind of awesome.
Yeah, I mean, look, I
sounds like it solves the property problem.
The jury's out for me. On where all those things are, but hey, sometimes it's a good time to just give up and go bush. Harley's gone. He's back.
The idea was I was doing it very quickly so that I didn't have to edit anything out of the show for the podcast listeners who can't see what you're talking about. But it's fine. I'll edit that out.
Yeah, just make a note of the time code.
I don't know. Yeah.
Look, the life of solitude and peacefulness is nice in a smaller city. But I don't know. I feel like it's not quite for me. But maybe that choice will be made for me.
Well, the market might make that choice when it's like rent and work, and the amount you can afford to spend on rent versus the amount of work you're getting and all that type of thing. Well, I guess we'll kind of see, really, won't we? We'll see how she all unfolds.
We have to see where the chips fall. And look, speaking of movies, I will just give a quick movie recommendation. So I've been in the horror zone recently. Sometimes I dip out of the horror zone, but at the moment I'm big into the horrors, and I've been looking and researching stuff because the short film that I'm making is a horror film, and I rewatched a film from a couple of years ago called A Cure for Wellness. And we have actually mentioned it here on the podcast before, and I highly recommend it. It's not your typical horror film. It is shot amazingly. It looks beautiful, and it had a ridiculous budget of $40 million.
What's it called?
A Cure for Wellness.
A Cure for Wellness.
Again, it had like a ridiculous budget of $40 million. It's by the director who directed the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, or the first three. And essentially, after he finished the Pirates movies, they're like, "What do you want to do, Mr. Director, sir? You're super successful. You can do anything you want." And he's like, "Yeah, well, how about this?" And they're like, "Cool. How much is it going to cost?" And he's like, "Well, $40 million." And they're like, "Cool, sounds amazing." And then it made not very much money.
Right.
And they lost, and which happens all the time, because essentially you get that creative control. You still want all the money that you had and the resources that you had on your bigger films, but you're making the personal, more creative, less maybe financially lucrative or people less of a popular film. Yeah.
People don't usually follow directors. They're not like the Pirates movies weren't famous because of the director. They were famous because it was a cool concept and it was Johnny Depp and all that. Yeah. And he might have done a great job as well or whatever. But people aren't like, cool, I'm going to follow him specifically.
That's true. So there's no
Johnny Depp or
there's no loyalty in the sense that no one's...
Unless you get really big, like obviously Tarantino
and Spielberg,
but you watch them because they are that director.
But there's maybe 3 of those directors in the world. Maybe 3 or 5. Guy Pigden, number
George
1.
Lucas,
James Cameron,
Tarantino.
Oh, that's 4. But you get the idea.
Just the 4 greats.
The Mount Rushmore of directors
of filmmaking.
But what happens is essentially when you make something really successful, you get given the keys to do something creative, a passion project, and you're given a lot of money. And then typically what happens is it's a big flop, and then you're kind of fucked. Not always, but that's a very common sort of trajectory of a filmmaker. And in this case, this was the film where he was given heaps of money, but no one really cared about it, and then he was fucked. Now, I'm sure he's doing all right, but this was probably on the downward trajectory for him. But it's a really good film. It's really interesting, like fun, sort of horror / thriller. So A Cure for Wellness. Go out of your way to have a look at that. Don't be discouraged by the runtime.
Oh, I did just watch 2 movies that were 2 hours 45 each.
Yep.
Django and or something like that. Django and Downfall. I don't know if I have it in me. I also the long last movie I watched was that bloody...
You were so spent after watching Hitler for 2 hours, 2 hours and 20.
And that gangster one.
Which gangster one?
The De Niro Pacino one recently.
That Netflix one. The Irishman.
Yeah. The Irishman.
The goddamn Irishman.
Yeah, that was another bloody 3-hour fucking epic.
It was.
Christ alive, people. I want to be entertained, but I don't want to be entertained for 3 hours at a time. I want to be entertained for an hour and a half max. If you're making a movie, keep your fucking shitty little project to under an hour and a half.
I disagree. Many of the greatest films are a bit longer than that, but...
Nah, well, to be fair, both of those movies I just mentioned, I do really enjoy.
Yep.
Django and...
But it's all about, does the story justify it, Can you really justify it?
That's it.
Or is this... Are you indulging in your hubris?
Yes. That's what the Irishman was. The Irishman was indulging in its hubris.
It was certainly... Scorsese was on a tear, and he just didn't want to cut out De Niro going... Which was literally his performance in the whole... Whoa, I was just thinking... Like, just spit it out, De Niro. Why are you stuttering? And like, I get it. It was a choice, but it was kind of like... Okay, what? He killed a lot of people in that film. He was...
Well, he was a hit. He was based on a real-life hitman.
Yeah, he was like the Rambo of gangster hitmen in that film, with just the amount of people.
You got to be pretty brutal to shoot your friend in the head, who you've known for how
Spoiler
many decades. Well, that's only halfway through the movie. Oh, no, well, it depends, actually. He kills heaps of people, like you say.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, shoot.
Also, I mean, it's been out for a while. I'm normally the spoiler alert.
No, that's true. Look, we could talk about it. In the film, Robert De Niro shoots his best fucking mate, Jimmy Hoffa, in the back of the head.
Doesn't De Niro play... Oh, wait.
Pacino's...
I always...
Pacino is Jimmy Hoffa.
Those two old
De
gangster
Niro
names.
is the Irishman. I can't even remember his name. Frank someone? I don't know. And anyway, the whole idea is they have this close bond, they have this close relationship, but Hoffa, again, a real character, is always overstepping his bounds. He's overstepping his limits. He doesn't know when to not fly in the face of the mob. And anyway, it all comes down to essentially trusting Robert De Niro, to trusting Frank to have his back, and he shot him in the fucking back. I mean, that was kind of cool, but like overall, it was just a bit. It was a bit long.
Cool, but if it was a real life thing, which I assume it really did happen, but hey, yeah, that's pretty brutal to do that.
That's
in real
one
life.
of the.
You got to be a cold son of a bitch.
Yeah, that's one of the, because they don't actually know how Jimmy Hoffa died. He just disappeared, and this is one of the theories which has some credence to it.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, look, I'm all out of notes.
And I'm all out of fucks to give.
So it has been a good show. Thank you very much for listening. I did want to give a wee plug to our Facebook page, facebook.com/GuyAndHarley, because at the moment we have 892 followers. And I was talking to Tyler, the technical producer, today, and he was like, needs 900. And I was like, that's achievable. We just need 8 more. So if you're out there and you want to, if you haven't hit like on it, please go do. If you have already hit like on it, hey, hit share, invite your friend. You can go there, you can press invite, and then you can select people individually, the individuals that you think would be suited to it, and invite them. We just need 8 more and we'll be hitting that 900.
Yeah, I mean, as you've seen, we're giving crucial updates about
about level 3,
about COVID-19, and all the things you need to do and be aware of when we hit level 3.
Yeah. So go to there, facebook.com/GuyAndHarley, and also patreon.com/Pigville. That is kind of the most important one at the moment, because with the uncertainty of the future, we really need a benevolent denizen of the internet to sponsor us. And $1 a month would really help us. So thank you very much. If you are already one of our Patreon supporters, by the way, I'm going to get a crawl sorted. I've actually got a crawl sorted. I'm going to put it on the bottom of the screen. It's going to start happening. But other than that, stay safe out there. Give us your listener topics because we really need those.
Stay safe.
And I will see you next time.
Stay in your bubble. Wash your hands. And avoid community transmission. And we'll see you all next week.